So Collabora came about in what year was that?
That was 2005. So that's
2005.
that's the year that I graduated from university,
Oh,
and
oh.
I had a job offer from Intel Research to go and work on Zen.
Okay.
So the Cambridge Computer Lab had what was called Intel Upstairs, the research team who had a kind of wing of the building, and I actually interviewed there and I had a job offer there, and then I met these Debian folks in the pub who were like, "Oh yeah, we're going to this like Debian conference and we're going to go meet with Nokia and talk about this like VoIP stuff, and you want to come along?" So yeah, we designed some software on a napkin, like pitched it to them. And they're like, "Yeah, that's great. You know, come back and start next month." Like, oh, okay. We're going to use dbus.
So you turned down a job at Intel as you were just leaving your study to go and start a thing with Nokia that you didn't know was going to become, what it is today. It's just, let's do this thing.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, it's like, I didn't have that much to lose. Like, if this doesn't work, I could probably figure out, I can go get a real job.
Yeah, fair enough.
And yeah, that's been true for 20 years. If it doesn't work out, I'll go and get a real job. I'm still here.
Well, nowadays, a lot of people recognize the name Collabora because of the work that they've done alongside Valve on improving KDE, improving things for the Steam Deck, things like that. But what was it like in those early days? Besides this Nokia contract that appeared out of nowhere from a napkin, what sort of work was, obviously can't say anything that can't be said, obviously, but what sort of work was being done back then?
Well, in the sort of early few years, I mean, we had this really great kind of honeymoon period with Nokia, and they were kind of going from their 770 internet tablet, and then they were kind of gradually tacking towards producing a phone OS, and the Nokia N900 being like a really proud moment for Collabora, because we had stuff in the media stack, the graphics stack, the desktop compositor, the messaging and calls. Collabora was all over that. And behind each of those things that we were doing with Nokia, we were kind of building a team and a capability inside Collabora that we were then trying to find additional opportunities. So Nokia was kind of our what's the kind of like flagship client that allowed us to grow the team and the capability. But we could also see that Nokia was kind of weird. Like they seem to have this very internal kind of land grab, combative kind of approach. They had multiple branches of Symbian OS. They had multiple different open source operating systems internally. They had at least 2 Linuxes, if not 3. And then some guy went and set up this BSD team. And there's a lot of kind of corporate weird, oh, we're going to merge these 2 divisions. And then this VP is going to go and take over this thing so that he can shut it down and move the resources over to his. And it was kind of 4-dimensional chess with offices and teams and operating systems. And it just isn't there someone in the head office who's made a decision? Or
yeah, that sounds like a CEO thing.
Kind of not that great at software strategy, it turns out. But actually, it's a completely different. I mean, you see this with car manufacturers now. Tesla have turned the whole kind of car discussion into okay, we have a battery and a motor and then a computer, and everything else is software.
Yeah, Tesla's not a car company. They just happen to put software in a car. The real car companies can make
on wheels.
Yeah. When Tesla, brought out their car and made electric cars actually popular, then the real car companies can come in and actually make a car. Tesla just gets everyone interested in it.
Yeah, but the same thing happens to Nokia, that basically all of their hardware, different, form factors and shapes and buttons and switches and all of that stuff was just rendered completely irrelevant, because the entire discussion was moved to, this is now a slab of glass and everything is about the software.
Wait,
and they were just not ready for that.
I just realized 2005, that's what, 2? How many years before the iPhone? 1 or 3?
Yeah, it's 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
So we were part of the Rebel Alliance inside Nokia, trying to make some actually good software come out and be relevant
Right.
before Nokia just tripped over their own shoelaces getting out of bed in the morning. But ultimately, the shoelaces won because Nokia had just tied themselves up so horrifically badly internally. They multiple, like 3 different versions of Symbian, right? Series 60, Series 80, Series 90, another OS, 2 Linux OS, something else, and just no coherence with making decisions about what to do and what not to do with the software. And obviously we felt, and the team inside Nokia, they built a really amazing team with international collaborators and contractors and open source people, and it was just a really cool place and time to be. But you could kind of see how different that was to the way that the rest of Nokia worked, and it just didn't feel like something that would last. So our priority at Collabora was trying to sort of use our skills at kind of overlapping between the open source world and the corporate world. What were they trying to do, and kind of deliver the kind of weird open source thing in a way that companies could get their head around. It wasn't really a question of whether they wanted to use open source, because they got that from the economic perspective. Like, someone else has written it for us and we can take it and we can save money. It was more to do with like actually delivering successfully. So being able to kind of understand roadmaps, influence things, work upstream, and kind of get the kind of mid to long term efficiencies of making good decisions. We had some very interesting contracts over the time. I mean, we actually had to fire one of our clients, which was a large Korean device manufacturer.
Okay. I think yes.
They make a number of devices, including lots of phones.
I think we can work this one.
They had a version of GTK that they like forked and been working on for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, with just a number of misapprehensions about how computers worked. And they came to us as like, we want to do open source. Can you upstream this? Like, I'm going to go with a no. Could you explain why you did this and what you were trying to achieve? And then we'll take it from there. And then it was like, okay, we'll write you a report about what we think you were trying to do. And then we can write you a proposal about maybe just doing that again. But yeah, so this kind of throwing engineers at it, and like, there were these things like the kind of Limo conference, Linux in mobile, and there was some VP from Motorola, and she would fly in and she would give the exact same presentation and she would fly out again. She's like, yeah, we love Linux, we love open source, we've got 2,500 developers in our Bangalore office, woo, Linux. And I'm like, you'd think they'd send in a few more patches if they've got 2,000 people working on it, because I didn't see any, actually, which is remarkable. And you see how well that efficient and on-point software strategy worked for Motorola. Right?
Oh yeah. I don't even know what that company's doing. So the last time I paid attention to like Nokia and Motorola, they were making it was when there was some Windows phones coming out.
Motorola got acquired by Google for like 20 cents.
Yeah, Motorola, I think,
Nokia got acquired by Microsoft.
Yeah, they were doing the Microsoft phones for a while, and then the Windows phones, and then Motorola makes like mid-range Android phones that are just basically shipping. It's basically like the cheap Pixel. That's what it is. It just ships like a stock Android.
Mid-range Pixels. Yeah. Yeah, although I don't even know if they're doing that. I don't know if they've just become.
Yeah, I don't know. I've not paid attention to them for a while. I did have a Motorola.
But they were like Nokia. They had a product roadmap that had like 6,000 different handsets, and like, this one is for mid to high end mobile professionals on Tuesdays, and like this one is the same except it has a flippy gizmo, and then this one has a slightly longer antenna, and then you have different sales teams who have different targets and different geographies and things. And like, how does anyone like even understand this? And it turns out that Google acquired them. Like, we're going to make a phone.
Yep.
Like, wow, mind blown.
Yeah, crazy about that, isn't it? You simplify your product stack, people are actually going to understand what's going on.
Yeah, I'm not fight with themselves over who gets the cornflakes at breakfast, but yeah.